Hello, everyone, and welcome to day 3 of Creators Loft, an event that we've created exclusively for you, our College Fashionista community. I'm Annie Wang, one of the co-founders of Her Campus Media, and I'm so excited to be chatting about today's topic about inclusion in the beauty industry, something that is obviously so important to us as consumers and obviously top of mind for the beauty industry as well. Now, one brand who has really been leading efforts in this space since their inception is Fenty Beauty. They really changed the game when they launched with a foundation in a 50-shade super inclusive range. And since then, they've really been setting the gold standard for inclusion when it comes to beauty. So that is why I am so excited to welcome our guest for tonight, Kenya Garrett, who is the Global Head of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion at Fenty Beauty, for a conversation on reflecting inclusivity in the beauty industry and what Fenty Beauty has been doing as part of that movement. So thank you so much to Kenya for being here tonight, to Fenty Beauty for sponsoring this segment, and Kenya will actually be taking some of your questions live tonight. So be sure to chat those throughout the event, and we'll try to get to as many as possible. As a reminder, we also want to be engaging with you on social throughout the Creators Loft experience. So use the hashtag Creators Loft and tag us on social at @CFashionista and join that conversation. So without further ado, please join me in warmly welcoming Kenya. I am so excited to chat with you today. And Kenya, I think we were having some trouble hearing you. I still can't hear you. Maybe we can check your audio settings really quick.
Can you hear me now? Hello?
Yes,
hello?
Perfect. Loud and clear. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Well, I said I'm so happy to be here with you today. I'm joy to have this conversation because you are all part of making changes just like we are today at Fenty Beauty. So I'm ready to get into it. There's no question that is off limits. So let us know how you feel in the chat.
I love that. No question is off limits, and we have Kenya here, so be sure to drop those questions in. So Kenya, just to start off with, I would love to ask you a little bit about your career path, because roles like yours of being the global lead, right, of diversity, equity, and inclusion at a major beauty brand have not always existed. So can you tell us a little bit about how you started your career, as well as how you got to where you are today?
Absolutely, Annie. What's so important, I think, about this journey is my path wasn't like this. It was more like this. And I want to start off by telling you that because I think us as women, women of color, when we have ambitious wants and want to change things for our families, we have this idea and that idea changes. So I originally started education. And the road of coming to be with Fenty Beauty and being the head of diversity, equity, inclusion was something I found along the way. And it happened because I saw a white space. I saw a purpose. I realized that we were doing all of this work to represent our clients. I realized that our marketing was so inclusive. And I was just thinking about, we need to make sure what we're doing externally is matching what we're doing for our employees internally. And we wanted to ensure, as we continue Rihanna's tour of continuing to make news and change the game in the industry, that every single country was voicing inclusivity, diversity, and equity. And so, but like I said, my journey didn't start here. It really started when I was in Sephora doing makeup, going to community college. And I say that because I think so many of us, we have ambitious goals, and we may look at you, Annie, or these people in these other prestigious titles that they have and think, hey, that can't be me. But I'm here to tell, and if you do the work, you can get here.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's so important to hear. And I mean, you started, like you said, as a makeup artist and then kind of in education, but you connected the dots, right? Because you needed that experience as a makeup artist, work like literally working at Sephora to understand the industry, to understand what the customers need. And then I love that you then went into education. And I think education really ties so well with DEI because a lot of that is education focused. And like we at her campus media even think of DEI as like professional development for our employees. So that makes total sense. And I love that even though it wasn't like a linear path, it sounds like you took what you needed at each stage and that kind of set you up for the next step.
Absolutely. And to your point, Annie, everything that I went through at each stage is what helped me bring me to here. And it definitely was not linear. And I think the biggest thing that if I could say anything is take every experience. So whether it was me at the floor at Sephora, trying to help someone, figure out their foundation, to being in the classroom, teaching adult learners, all of that information resonated. And, I'm thankful to be at a place where not only do we want to represent diversity within our products, but we want to make sure all people's voices are heard within how we market to how we speak to each other.
Yeah, I love that. So that's a perfect segue into my next question. So obviously Fenty Beauty, like we said, has been a leader in this conversation and in this space since the very, very beginning. And I would just love to hear from you a little bit more on Fenty Beauty's philosophies surrounding inclusivity in the space and kind of what sets you apart and what makes you tick as a beauty brand.
Yeah, absolutely. For us, well, really for Rihanna, it starts with her. And for her, diversity, inclusivity, it's like a standard. It was a no-brainer to her. One of the first products she actually tried on was foundation. And back in the day, which y'all probably remember, you would have to mix 2 different shades to try and get your right color. So for us, when Fenty Beauty started, it was all in Rihanna's head. She was just like, diversity, inclusivity, that's like pay to play. We have to have that. And then I want to take it. She wanted to take it a step further. So for us, it's always been about our people, about our consumers, and about our clients. And there's no point of bringing a product to market if people can't, 1, try it on, if people can't, 2, access it, and 3, if they can't see themselves wearing it.
Yeah, I love that. And it seems like so common sense the way you put that. And, as a consumer myself, like that totally makes sense. But it was not always that way. And I love what you said about, this is now just the standard. It's the given, it's like table stakes. And I think that is the kind of conversation that you guys have changed and why Fenty Beauty has been so game changing. So I guess with that said, how do you think that, thinking about diversity and inclusion has evolved then in the beauty industry over time? And what do you think Fenty Beauty has done in that kind of in that arc?
Well, first and foremost, we've challenged the retailers. We've challenged the merchants. We've challenged the people that are housing and buying the products to accept it. So when you think of Fenty Beauty, really, when you think of Rihanna, it wasn't just we want to make inclusive products, but we want to make sure we're pushing the people that are going to sell our products to also be inclusive. So it starts with but it wasn't just something that we wanted to end with our products and the amazing campaigns we did. We wanted to ensure the places that we go into had the same values. So for us, we're happy that people are doing 50 plus shades of foundation. Welcome to the party, right? But also we want to pull up and do more. Yeah. It's about partnerships and allowing other people to come in. So you see these amazing campaigns with Black and Brown and other people of color coming into these spaces that for so long there was barriers for. And, we are not the only people that were doing that work. We definitely were doing that before it was relevant or a trend. So for us, it's about continuing that legacy and going beyond gender, going beyond ethnicity, and continuing to not only challenge others, but also ourselves.
Yeah, I love that. Can you give me any examples of, you mentioned kind of partnering with retailers and almost challenging like the other players in the space, not just the beauty brand, but everyone who's part of the industry. I would love to hear any specific examples you have to share of that.
So a great example that I have is our vendor diversity partnerships. So we actually have a whole policy, a contract. We don't do business with people if they don't represent our values. So it's important from every part of this process, to the distributors, to the people that are making our packages, that we are all trying to support and go towards the same goal. And that's something that all of us, especially Ree, is very passionate about.
I love that. That's huge. And what a major stance to take, right? And I think it's things like that, having that stance and having that policy that, again, kind of pushes the whole industry forward of like, this is what we can do, this is what we can expect. So I love that. And I love that that's what you guys stand for. So I'm curious, what do you feel like, you guys do so much so well in this space, what do you feel like is the most unique thing that Fenty Beauty really brings to the conversation? Maybe, something that you embrace a little bit differently from other brands, like you said, that are now entering the space and trying to do this work as well. What do you think sets you guys apart?
Well, I think there are two things. I think one is that we've integrated diversity, equity, and inclusion into our process, right? So it's not just something that you'll see in marketing or when it's like, oh, this is happening. It's just the standard. So although I can't share with you what that process looks like, but we've really created a unique process that allows and ensures that we're giving that to our clients, right? So I think that's one thing we do really well. You have to intentionally ensure that diversity, equity, inclusion happens. It doesn't happen by happenstance, right? You have to be intentional about it. So that's one. The second part is we allowed our community to have a voice, right? And the beauty brands, big beauty brands for a long time, they kind of created the looks. They created what was popular and kind of gave it to you and said, hey, consume this. And we did the exact opposite. Rihanna is so smart in the sense that she really understands her following. She understands her fans, and she legit listens and forces us to, And the beautiful thing about that is, even when we launched in 2017, people had already felt left out. We just said, hey, here's a seat at the table. We're not only going to allow you to be here, we're going to allow you to celebrate with us. We're going to amplify your voice, and we're going to keep serving you. So I think the second thing that we do really well is bringing our people, our clients, our fans to the table and making sure they're heard.
I love that. It sounds like, to me, what I hear from those 2 points is just how authentic this is. And the Fenty Beauty brand of just, this diversity, equity, inclusion work isn't just the external facing, but like you mentioned, it's an internal thing. It's an intentional thing. It's kind of woven into business operations as a whole. And that's so important because people see right through efforts that are just surface level. So I love that. That's something that has been part of your company culture authentically. And same thing with product development and just like being really receptive and on the same page as your fans and your consumers. I think that's the best way to grow a brand. So kudos to you guys. My last question is, and then we'll transfer this over to our chat submitted questions, is what are you guys doing? What's on the roadmap? Tell us a little bit, peek behind the covers of what's next for Fenty Beauty in moving this forward, but also just anything else exciting going on in the company.
Woo! I mean, this is what I get excited about. I think I mentioned earlier that there's a whole spectrum of diversity, right? Diversity includes, of course, ethnicity and gender, but it's much more than that. It's thought, it's abilities, it's so much more than that. And so I think while I can't give away the recipe, what you'll see in the near future is products that are going to go beyond what you've already seen. Of course, we want everybody to have their best foundation match, but we don't want to stop there. So sky's the limit.
I love that. And yeah, absolutely. I think you hit it right on the head. You guys started with like the whole inclusive shade set, 50 plus shades. That's amazing. And but that is kind of, it focuses on skin color, right? And there's so much more to excited to see that, and just excited to see what else Fenty Beauty has in store. And I know it's a secret for now, but we're gonna keep our eyes peeled. I guess my last question for you, before we transition into the second part of tonight, is just whether you have any, advice for the viewers of today's Creators Loft event on just starting their careers, many of them really interested in breaking into the beauty industry, of course. So what words of advice, what words of wisdom would you share as they are just starting out, in their college journey, maybe graduating soon, and really looking up to you as a role model of what they one day may hope to become?
Oh, you done opened the can of worms. So I have a couple things I'm going to share. I think one, figure out what you value and make decisions based off your values. If you work for companies, if you create your own businesses based off your values, you're going to always love what you do, and you're not going to burn out because you're making a decision based off the set of values. So figure out what are those top 5 values you enjoy, whether they're family, contribution, whatever those things are, and make your decisions based off that. Number 2, and you probably hear this a lot, is be flexible and open to failure. And in fact, I would say fail often. And the reason why I say that is because I have learned the most when I have gone after something and made a mistake. And that wisdom I gained, I wouldn't have gotten if I always got the A+ or if I always got the job. And the last thing I'll say is bet on yourself. Take the chance, take the risk. I'm here today because I did that. I started off in education. I understood makeup. But my values always had to do with allowing others to be a part of something or contributing back to a community. And now I'm living my dream. And that wouldn't have happened if I just said, you know what, I'm going to stay in my lane. All I can do is education and maybe a little makeup on the side. I had to take that risk and go for it.
Well, good for you, Kenya. Thank you so much for joining me today. This was such an inspiring talk, and I'm so excited to continue watching your career as well. So thank you so much for sharing this virtual stage with me. Thank you to all of you guys too for tuning in and being a part of our College Fashionista community. We are not yet done for tonight, and I'm gonna now turn it over to my co-founder, Windsor. She's gonna be up next with our panel of other beauty industry leaders and putting them to the test, busting some myths, and then answering a couple more questions from you, our CF community. So you definitely don't want to miss it. Stay tuned.
Hello, everyone. Hi, Katie. Hi, Deb. Can you all hear me?
Yes. Hi.
Awesome. Hi, Deb. I can hear you. Katie, I don't know if I can hear you. Try that one more time.
Oh, I was on mute.
Hey, it had to happen. It had to happen. Well, I want to thank Annie and Kenya. Thank you both so much. I love hearing your hopes for the future of inclusion and beauty, inclusion in the beauty industry. There is so much more work to be done, but there is hope, because there are some really incredible people out there already doing the work, like these amazing panelists we have here tonight with me, Katie and Deb. I could not be more delighted. I'm a huge fan of both of yours. Follow your work. Obsessed. So was really, really excited that I got to connect with you both tonight. Why don't you introduce yourselves? Deb, why don't you go first?
Hi, everyone. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me. My name is Deb Doe, and I'm the Chief Creative Officer and Creative Director at We Are Fluid, which is a vegan, cruelty-free, gender-expansive beauty brand. And we try to inject fun and play into everything we do and make makeup as accessible as possible for everyone.
I love that. I love it. It's for everybody, playful, obsessed. Katie.
I am the founder of Mega Babe Beauty. We tackle issues like thigh chafe and boob sweat, butt acne, typically topics that people are shying away from, and we're helping women become more comfortable with these very normal things through clean. Dev, your intro was so clean. I was like, wait, I need to get together here, but with clean products, and I don't know. That's me. I'll just keep holding my thigh shape stick.
I love it. No, and I love Mega Babe. I love Fluid. And I could not be more excited to be here. And we're going to be doing some myth busting tonight. We're going to be talking about myths and misconceptions that we often hear about diversity and inclusion within the beauty industry. So we do have some questions also. We're here tonight. This is our College Fashionista community. We're celebrating them, bringing them together to have these important conversations. And we have a lot of questions that they submitted. So we're going to get to those questions. But first, we're going to bust some myths. So this is going to be a lightning round. So you guys ready?
Yeah.
Okay. So here's how it's going to work. I will give you a statement and I want you both to shout out myth or fact. And then we'll talk about why you said what you said. Maybe it'll be a little chaotic. Maybe you'll shout over each other. We will figure it out. Does that sound good?
Great.
That
Yeah.
sounds
Okay.
great.
So myth or fact, there isn't enough demand for gender inclusive beauty and skincare products.
Myth.
Katie, what do you think? Myth or fact? There isn't enough demand.
That's
for
a
gender
myth.
inclusive beauty
That's
products.
I thought that was clearly for Deb. I'm like, this is a myth.
Oh yeah, no, it's Deb. So Deb, talk about why this is a myth, because obviously, well, not some people don't. Some people might say, no, there's not enough demand for gender inclusive beauty and skincare products. So clearly, that's a myth. But tell me about your entire company and your product line.
Yeah, so I mean, the basis of our company is that makeup is for all people, especially people of marginalized experiences and genders. I myself am trans femme, so growing up, I didn't have a product or a company that was designed for me or that was catering to me. So I know personally tons and tons of people, but I also think our sales would tell you that, there is a need for gender expansive beauty and inclusion. And I would also say it's life-saving work in a life-saving industry. So it's super important.
I love it. I love you're like, oh, mic drop. Also, our sales will tell you there's enough demand. I love that. That's amazing.
Yeah, people are buying it. So
people are buying it, and that's amazing. All right, myth or fact number 2: creating more colors or shades is less profitable for brands.
That's a myth.
Yeah.
Myth? Tell us why.
Full myth, right?
I think
Yeah.
so.
Oh,
Dev, is it more or less profitable to create more colors or shades?
I would say it's more profitable if you if we're talking about foundation is one thing, having more product is obviously more of an expense up front, but being able to cater to more people and have a product that is like a hero product that people will keep coming back to because they know you have their shade is so important. And then with more playful products, just having that diversity of like with us, our universal liners come in 8 shades now, having just different options for people to play with and different experiences that align with people's aesthetic is only helpful.
Awesome. All right, myth or fact? Some beauty brands, say legacy beauty brands, will never change their product offerings because they don't have to.
Well, I think that's a myth.
Why?
Because ultimately what used to happen in the beauty industry is that the beauty industry used to tell you what you needed, and now with social media and the allowance of people to have a voice, especially people who have not been acknowledged in the past, I feel like that changes, because ultimately a big brand need to make money, and they're not going to like it seeing smaller brands come along with more innovative product lines, and they eventually have to adapt.
I love that. I love the kind of the insight being without social media. Before that, it was like top down, like, this is the product, this is what's on the market, this is what you need, and if you don't like it, sorry, like, I don't know, we're just going to keep, they didn't know what they didn't know. They didn't know what products needed to be made, because it was just so much, we're going to tell you, we're going to make this, and that's what you're going to buy, rather than hearing from people. I love it. All right, next question, myth or fact? It's really difficult to find inclusive beauty products that are clean and vegan and affordable.
Man.
That's a myth.
It's a myth.
If you do a little digging, a little Google research, you will find it. There's tons of us doing really incredible work. And I think a lot of these indie brands work with really great influencers. So I would say get into the community and you will definitely find all of it.
Amazing. Myth or fact, as a consumer, not as a beauty entrepreneur, there's nothing I could do as a consumer about diversity and inclusion in the beauty industry. Myth or fact?
I didn't hear the last part. I'm sorry.
There's nothing I can do as a consumer about diversity and inclusion in the beauty industry.
Myth.
What should I do? What should I do if I'm a consumer and I want there to be more diversity and inclusion in beauty?
You shop with your dollars and you use your voice, and you get online and you realize that the social media managers at big brands are actually, they're out there and they're watching what people are saying, and tag them, talk to them, start a dialogue.
100%.
Yeah, you can really
that.
you can absolutely hold brands accountable, especially on social media. I think doing something even as far as just asking questions. Is this product vegan? Why don't you have vegan products? Those sort of conversations really move the needle and hold brands accountable to move forward in a way that we all want.
Amazing. I love it. So we've just established 5 myths. It is a myth that there's not enough demand for gender inclusive beauty and skincare products. It is a myth that creating more shades and colors is less profitable for brands because you can serve more consumers. It is a myth that legacy beauty brands won't change their product offering because they don't have to, because turns out they do have to. It's a myth that it's difficult to find inclusive beauty products that are clean, vegan, and affordable. You just have to Google. And it is a myth that there's nothing you as a consumer can do about diversity and inclusion in the beauty industry. I love it. That was super fun. And now we're going to transition into questions that we got from our College Fashionista community members. So these are some really, really good questions. You ready?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Question number 1. Why do you think so many brands are failing to transition to market to Gen Z, who embrace more realistic and diverse portrayals of beauty and are still pushing a standard of photoshopped images with clear, poreless skin and catering primarily to white women?
Who takes the question?
Either way, who wants it?
Yeah, I think a big part of that is just
No, Deb, go.
Deb, you start.
I think a big part of that is especially these legacy brands have kind of a sense of routine and a sense of bureaucracy that it actually probably is a little difficult to make such huge changes. I've talked to different executives and entrepreneurs at different conventions and speaking opportunities, and I think a lot of brands actually do want to move forward, but sometimes it does logistically take a while, or it's easier to start a smaller brand that is more centered around that. But I do think it's so important that these legacy brands do catch up and make the necessary changes.
Yeah, totally. Do you have anything to add to that, Katie?
I was just going to say there is exactly what Deb said. There's more red tape, and they don't, like, big companies don't necessarily just do things because they know it's what's trending. They do things because of market research or like basically numbers. So I think that sometimes they need more than just seeing a trend to they need more sometimes data to catch up with what is happening in the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. So the next question we got was related. Some businesses are using quote, no touch-ups on their campaigns without specifying when things are enhanced. So do you think that marketing technique is a step in the right direction to say no Photoshop? And is it?
I think that they could. I think that it is interesting that you would mark when something is not photoshopped, but you don't say when it is. I think you have to say that something's photoshopped now.
Mm-hmm.
Because the assumption in the past was that everything was photoshopped.
Right.
And now that is not necessarily the case. Also, it's the same on social media. When you're using a filter, it says right at the top that you have a filter over your face. And I think that that's really important, because if you didn't have that, can you imagine like people are out here just running around with like a totally reconstructed face and no one knew?
Yeah. No, I know. And I do think it's really interesting, and I'm glad it recognizes and says that there's a filter going on. But I also think it's a big, risk. I know with Instagram in particular that these filters, I mean, it's automatic Photoshop and it's being used in videos with celebrities and photos all the time. And it's like, you can just face tune to the nth degree and you get this completely unrealistic portrayal of like what real humans actually look like. I mean, Zoom, you can even touch up your appearance, right? You can just say like, make my skin better on Zoom. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So why do you think some fashion brands, so next question, while some fashion brands have started to be more inclusive in representing different sizes in their campaigns, beauty brands still don't often include models in their campaigns that represent larger sizes? I'm going to send this to Katie. Why do you think that happens? And what do you think can be done to shift that visibility?
I think that we're just still getting used to seeing a body that has a fat roll or a double chin or an arm that isn't toned the way that we've been used to seeing the bodies presented to us for so long. I think that brands it's interesting though, because I actually think beauty might be doing a better job than fashion in casting actual curvy girls in their campaigns. In fashion, I find that when there's an extended size campaign, they usually put like a size 10 because it's more palatable. In beauty, like I've seen at Ulta or just other beauty campaigns, I've seen actual bigger girls, and that has been amazing to see. And you don't often see that in fashion.
Awesome. No, I think that it's amazing. And it is just making sure that it's so important that brands represent the beautiful diversity of their consumers, all these beautiful people who want to purchase makeup, who want to purchase their products, and you want to make sure they feel seen in your advertising. You want to make sure they feel seen in all the campaigns that you're putting out there. Next question that we got from our audience was, let me see. Why do you think some brands are unwilling to alter their lines to be more inclusive? Do you think that, let me see, sorry. This could mean altering their shades available, the tones of the products, using different people in campaigns. Like, is it not so obvious right now that like every brand needs to be doing this, but we still see brands that aren't? Like, what do you think it is? Do you think it's that red tape? Do you think it's not an awareness? Like, it feels like, I guess from the consumer perspective, from College Fashionista's perspective, all brands should be doing this. It seems obvious.
Yeah, it's a hard question to read other companies' minds. I'm like, I don't really know why they don't do it, but we're doing it. And I think it's such a huge priority at our company that it really is like a question I honestly don't really know how to answer, because it's such a integral part of what we do and what we stand for. I would just say it's important to hold these companies accountable, the ones that you feel are not living up to your expectations and to your beliefs. Because I do believe beauty is such an inspirational and aspirational industry that it is really the industry's job to make sure that everyone feels beautiful and showcases such a huge range. So it's something I take very seriously.
So the next question is for you all. We want to hear, so many of our College Fashionista community members would love to found their own beauty company, would love to create their own beauty brand. So how did you come up with the idea for each of your brands? How did you decide you were the right person? Did you have the gumption to like go for it, right? Because I feel like everybody's like, oh, I have a good idea for this thing, but you all both did it, right? And are doing it. So I don't know, Katie, let's start with you.
Yes, I want to say, because I think that there's a misconception that you go, you go to school, whatever, and then you can just show up and start a business. I think what in terms of my path, like I was in PR for 10 years and I worked with entrepreneurs. I worked with media. I understood how to like craft and mold a brand. And for me, that stuff all led up to this place of Mega Babe and putting a brand together that is successful is so much more than just coming up with the idea for the product. I would say get some experience in the world first is my first piece of advice. And then the second thing is I had no experience in the beauty industry. Is my screen frozen?
No. You're
okay.
good.
Okay. I had no experience in the beauty industry. However, I do think that I came in with a unique product. Thigh Rescue was the first thing that we launched. I did market research. I realized there was really nothing out there like it that was like made just for women who were walking with thigh chafe, walking to work, not running a marathon, not biking around the country. And I think that was a white space in the market. So I would have a hard time launching something like, I don't know, something like a shampoo right now, unless I was coming up with something really unique and something that wasn't available. So that's my 2 cents in advice from, because this is hard to do. Deb, I don't know if you feel the same way, but it's like you think you reach a certain level of success and then you're like, oh wait, there's even more problems, and it's not as simple as having an idea.
I love that. No,
Too
I think
realistic.
it's totally very great. I think this is helpful, right? Because what you don't want is someone to be like, but I'm 22 and I tried and it didn't work. And like, what's wrong? Katie did it. Why couldn't I?
Yeah.
I think it's really helpful advice to say, no, you had work experience. You knew how the world worked. Even though you thought the idea was good, I assume you wanted this product and that's maybe where the idea came from. You were like, but I still need to do market research. Sample size of 1 is insufficient.
Yes.
And that's
Yeah,
Deb, what about you? How did you come up with your idea and like, why did you decide you were the one to do this?
Well, I actually am not the one who founded the company. I'm the creative director and chief.
Oh, good. Sorry.
Officer. I think something Katie said was really important, just about being in the industry and being in the world and kind of being a sponge. I started at an agency and worked under like a huge entrepreneur. So for me, it was really a time in my early 20s where I could just like take it in. It was such a fast New York agency kind of lifestyle. And it was, looking back, I was like miserable, but like now I'm like, so much of what I went through and learned is applied just every day, the way even just like conducting a meeting and just the professionalism piece. So I do think it's really important that you're in the world, that you're interning, that you have mentors, especially if entrepreneurship is something you want to get involved in, because there are so many people you need to know to help you with this. There's so many like legal things you need to be on top of that you just wouldn't have known. So I really value mentorship and finding people who are doing what you're doing, either in the industry or in another industry, and really learning from them and seeking their advice.
100%. So we have some questions from the chat. So if you have more questions in the chat, drop them in. Katie, this question's for you. It's from Mia. Mia says, how can I be more comfortable in my body as a curvy girl? It just feels so hard. Any advice?
Yes, Mia. I think first of all, not to plug my book, but I wrote a book called Body Talk, which is essentially.
You should definitely plug your book. Plug your book.
Okay, my book. I wrote a book called Body Talk, which is all about the how-to guide essentially for self-acceptance. But one thing that really impacted me and sent me on my own body acceptance journey was when I realized that all the thin girls and the girls that I was trying to look like actually had major problems with their body. And once I realized that, I was like, hold on a second. So the girls who I'm beating myself up to look like aren't even happy in their body. What's the point? What are we doing here? Why are we wasting our time? And that for me was like a real light bulb moment. And I started my body acceptance journey like right after that, essentially.
That's amazing. So read the book, number one, and then
And the
number
book
two,
is called Body Talk. The book is called Body Talk. Thank you for letting me plug it.
Of course. No, hey, when you write a book, writing a book is freaking hard, and it's hard to sell books, and it's hard to break through the noise. So absolutely go find Katie's book, read the book. That's amazing.
Read the book.
Yes, read the book. Next question's from Kellyanne. Kellyanne asks, what are some tips on staying resilient when things are not going how you expected? Or when things are not
I find that they rarely go how you expect them to go, I think.
Mm-hmm. They rarely do.
Yeah,
so what do you do? They don't.
I would say so much of my life I've learned that I'm not in control of my like path or of my destiny. And that sounds kind of scary. And I also think like COVID has kind of influenced this thought process. But once you realize that, it's really actually a very liberating experience to know like I just do what I can do what I have control over and keep it going. But I can't just like muscle through everything and control so much of my life. And I feel like for me, it's allowed me to become much more grounded and much more of like a go with the flow kind of person. So I would just encourage you to kind of seek out different ways to kind of be like, I was about to get weird and spiritual, but just in tune with the world and kind of like a little more relaxed and in tune with your breath. I'm a dancer.
Yeah.
To really kind of release yourselves of those that like need to be like controlling and everything.
We got another attendee who asks Dev, Charlie wants to know, Dev, can you answer the same question? Charlie says, you're incredible. What has your acceptance journey been like?
Oh, wow. That's a big question. Thank you, Charlie. My acceptance journey. So let me figure out the quickest way to answer this question. So there's a lot of different aspects of my life that I've had to accept, right? Starting off as someone who is queer and then exploring gender and realizing that I don't identify as the gender I was assigned at birth. And I think each of those lessons or each of those moments in my life has kind of speaks to like the idea of going with the flow. I feel like as I went to college and as I grew up, I learned so much from the people around me of what there is, what the language is that applies to me, and just kind of taking everything in and being a sponge and realizing who I am and what the name is for it has been really liberating. And so I've been able to kind of inject that self-acceptance and wanting to give that to others into something like a Fluid, and just trying to make a company that other people can find and explore and accept themselves with. I hope that was helpful.
That was beautiful. All right, a couple more questions. One is, what do you feel like the world should know about the communities you represent and serve with the brands you work on? What kind of message about the communities you serve do you wish the world knew?
I think that it's that you're not alone. That I think there so many of the problems we talk about, like boob sweat or BO or butt acne, these are things that you think you're the only one who has them, and that makes you feel isolated. It makes you feel like, what's wrong with my body? And I guess that's our community doesn't look a certain way. Our community looks like everyone because everyone has these issues. So that's something I would say.
I think that's amazing. It's like, don't be embarrassed, and everybody is a human, and you can just be real and accept yourself. It's like kind of radical acceptance, really, and knowing that that's everywhere. Awesome. And Dev, what about you with the community you represent with Fluid? What do you wish the world knew?
Yeah, I think so much of the conversation around like queerness and transness and queer beauty or like getting into makeup is such a dark story a lot of times for a lot of people, or at least the way it can be presented in the media. It's a lot of my parents didn't allow me to do this or I couldn't do that, which is a very honestly my story. However, I think something that Fluid really wants to push is the idea of queer joy. There's so much love and so much joy and so much community, sisterhood, brotherhood, they themhood within the beauty world and within the queer community. And I think that is really the priority for us, to showcase the joy and the, okay, you may not be out yet, or you may not know that you're queer yet, but you can look at these images, you can look at these videos of people having fun with their friends, playing with makeup in a way that works for them. It's not about looking a certain way or being someone else's idea of beauty. It's about like being the kid you were and playing with makeup like you would with paint and just having fun. And so I think so much of what we do is just around queerness. Is so much fun. It's so beautiful. And I'm so happy to be queer. Our company is so happy to be queer. Everyone should be queer.
Awesome. Well, Katie and Deb, thank you both so much for taking the time tonight to chat with me, to chat with our college fashionistas who are tuning in from all over the country. This has been so incredibly insightful, and I'm just delighted that we could do this. So it's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And everyone at home, thank you so much for tuning in. We are so delighted you're part of our College Fashionista community. We want to know what you thought about the sessions tonight. So make sure to tag @CFashionista and to tag #Creators Loft so that we can join in on the conversation. So College Fashionista is CFashionista, and then #Creators Loft. Also, we are now on TikTok for College Fashionista. So it's @CFashionista. Give us a follow, check us out there, and be sure to tune in tomorrow for day 4 of Creators Loft. The topic is The Future is Freelance, and we're going to have a special community networking opportunity. Also, don't forget you can rewatch anything that you missed this week right at creatorsloft.collegefashionista.com. Thank you so much, Katie. Thank you so much, Deb. Thank you, College Fashionista community. We're just delighted to spend this time with you, and I hope you have a great rest of your Wednesday. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Have a good one.
Bye.